Well, thanks for joining today. Today, I'm going to talk about the complete guide to winning online for paving companies. Um, and I got a lot of content to go through, so I'm going to move quickly. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the Q&A. I'll keep an eye on them and address them as they come in or at the end. But other than that, I'll get right to it. So when we talk about winning online, there really is no bigger problem for a business to solve. If you don't have enough customers, nothing else matters. And the reality is that the vast majority of customers today are searching online. And it doesn't matter if you're the best paving company in the area if they can't find you. So today I'm going to show you the entire process from the beginning to the end, and you will leave this presentation with a plan to win your market. And so who am I and why should you listen to me? Well, I am the author of Online Marketing for Paving Companies. We are associate members of NEPA, and I own Paving Marketers, which is the #1 marketing company for paving companies. And this isn't our first rodeo. I've owned a digital marketing agency since 2011. Um, you know, we've worked on thousands of projects over that time, over 6 continents. We got over 600 5-star reviews for the main agency. So we've been doing this a long time. We've done it all. We've seen it all. And we have a very, very deep bench of expertise. And specifically for paving and paving marketers, we have dozens and dozens of paving clients. We've done a ton of work in the asphalt space, concrete also, and just paving, construction, excavation, adjacent things, but really the focus is paving. And we get great results from our clients. You can hear it from Doug. He's got a video testimony for us. He's been getting really good leads. Leads have improved. He's quite happy. He comments on our Facebook posts and ads, and he's great. We love Doug. And there's his case studies on our website, several more. We have very, very strong expertise in the paving space. And so last year, from January 1st to December 31st, we generated over 15,000 leads for paving companies. And we're going to talk about how we did that today. And we're going to break this down into the things that you need to do to generate paving leads for your business. Okay. And these things work. Joni from JR Paving, they were hesitant to change marketing companies, but we exceeded their expectations and they're still a customer today. We love working with JR Paving. So what is it that we teach exactly? And we talk about the digital dominance method. And really all that means is when you consider online marketing, there's a ton of different things you can do. And the reality is you do have to do them all, but you can't necessarily tackle them all at once. And so there's all these different things that you could do. How do you begin to organize this? How do you approach it? What are you already doing? What do you need to do more of? Well, today I'm going to kind of cut through all of the fog and lay out a roadmap for you of what it is that you need to do, when to do it, so that you can prioritize your efforts to have the biggest bang for your buck. Okay. And so I'm going to give you the keys to growing your business online, but I'm going to need something from you in return. And it's very simple. That you're not just going to listen, but you're going to act on it. So if you hear something that I tell you today, and it's something that you can do it. Don't wait. Some of the stuff is very simple, and it just you got to do it. And so if you see something that can help you, do it now, because sometimes these things can take time to bear fruit, and the sooner you do it, the sooner it starts working for you. Okay. And the last thing is, if this gives you great value, consider working with us the next time you're looking for a marketing partner. Okay, that's all we ask. And so one thing that we hear is, hey, I've tried this before. And that might be true, but I'd like you to consider some things. Are you certain that the partner that you were working with, or you, if you did it yourself, did it right? Or were you even doing the right thing? Or were you doing enough of the right thing? And let me give you an example. A lot of people have told us, hey, I've tried Google Ads, didn't work. But when we ask them, okay, well, how much did you spend? They'll tell us they spent like $500. Well, it sounds like a lot of money. It is, but that's not enough money to test Google Ads. That's not enough to even get you out of the gate. And so if that's all you did, then you really haven't tried it before. So just go through the presentation. We're going to send out a replay. Consider these things and consider whether you've done them and consider how you might do them today. Okay? Because here's what I know. If you do these things right, and in the order that I present them, and you do the right amount for where you're at, this is going to work for you. It works every single time. This is not rocket science. Like football, this is just basic blocking and tackling. You do your job right, you're going to move forward. Okay? And these are some bottom line results for paving companies. And we took out the names because we don't want to, we don't want people bugging them. But to give you examples of how well this should work for you, and these are data from our customers, and this is real ROI. So this is, we don't just take their ad spend, but we take what they pay us and we include that in the numbers here. Okay, and you can see $18 cost per lead, $21 cost per lead, $25 up to $36, dozens and dozens of lead per month at an extremely profitable cost per lead. And these are unique leads. So this is not like the same guy calling 5 times, counting that 5 times. No, these are uniques. Okay. So I'm sharing this with you so you understand that what I'm telling you today works. It works extremely well, and we know how to do it. And it works for our customers. And so these are just a bunch of reviews and comments and feedback that we've gotten from paving companies about paving marketer services. Highly recommended, get great results. We got one of the best, the biggest jobs we've ever gotten. And on and on and on. You can read all of this, but I would just want you to understand that we know what we're doing. And what I'm presenting to you today is not, theory. It's not, maybe it'll work. This is literally the playbook that we use to get fantastic results for our customers. Okay. Let's check if we have any questions yet. Nope. So we'll carry right on through. So I want to get into the overview now. So what are we doing today? And what we're going to do, as I've said, is we're going to cover the things that you should do in order of importance from first to last. Okay. So this is your roadmap. And this is a new business if you're just starting out, or maybe you want to start a new location, which is a great idea. Or maybe just fixing what you already have. And that's probably the case for most people who are watching this, is you already got a lot of this stuff in place, but maybe you're missing some of it. Maybe you could improve some of it. Maybe you don't know that you should be doing one or the other things. Wherever you're at in this will help you today. And I wanted to help you build step by step and maximize your return on investment. Okay, so here's the process, the roadmap. Step 1, we're going to talk about getting started. Step 2 is going to talk about getting competitive. Step 3, we're going to talk about getting bigger. And then step 4, we're going to go over getting everywhere. Okay, so let's go. Step 1, get started. Okay, so here's what we do in step 1. There's 3 things we cover: Google Business Profile, Facebook page, website. This is getting started. Okay, let's talk about your Google Business Profile. This should be your biggest source of leads, and it's usually easy to set up and get verified. Now, the question we often get, or what we run into with customers, is, do I do a service area? What if I don't have an office address? If you don't have an office address and don't want to use your home address, and even now today, they're not even really letting you do that anymore. So if you don't have an office, start with a service area. It's not the best case scenario. You're going to sacrifice some ranking ability by doing that. But what is more important is that you get live. Okay. So do what you got to do. Remember all the leads that we generated for our customers, the majority of them came from Google Business Profiles. So almost exactly a third of leads for paving companies are coming from Google Maps. So this is number one thing you need to do. Get your Google Business Profile up, get it right, get it pumping. That's what you got to do. Okay. And so think about it. If you think about who is the biggest and strongest paving company in your area, have you looked at their Maps GeoGrid? And if you don't know how to do that, there's all kinds of software out there. Well, we use Local Viking. I think there's something called Local Recon. I forget. There's a bunch of them. You can also go to our website, pavingmarketers.com. I think on the home page, you can fill out some information and generate a Maps GeoGrid. It'll email it to you. So feel free to do that. But take a look at their Maps GeoGrid. Take a look at yours. And just see what it does is it shows you how you're ranking in Google Maps. And in Google Maps, you've got to be in spots 1, 2, or 3. Otherwise, you're not really visible. Okay. So the GeoGrid is really kind of the core measure of how well you're doing in the maps in your area. And when you think about where you want to get customers from, there's room for 3 there. So the big guy in your area, maybe that's you, good for you. If it's not, don't worry, because there's 3 spots in that map pack and you can get after them. All right. And just think about what difference would it make for you if you look at the biggest competitor, how they're doing in the maps. What difference would it make for you if you had that footprint? It'd make a huge difference for you. And so this is very important, and it's mission critical to get this done and get this done right. And so what do? You got to have a login for your Google Business Profile account. Now that's changed a little bit because they moved that now to where you manage it from Google and from the maps or however they do it now. My team knows this better than I do now, but basically you do it from Google itself, from the Gmail account you're logged into when you're navigating or whatever you're doing. Okay, so make sure you have that, right? And then make sure your company name in there is your company name. Don't do things, like best paving company or asphalt driveway paving. Don't put keywords in there. It gets you suspended. Have your website address in there. It's an important link. And then to the best of your ability, use a local number. There's some data that shows that customers tend to prefer local numbers. When they see an 800 number, they think it's a national company or it's like a franchise or a lead seller or whatever. And so you want to avoid having friction. And so try to use a local number in your GBP. You use a local address. Don't use PO boxes or UPS stores. It's a bad idea. It used to work. It doesn't now. Stay away from it. And upload photos. And the photos you want to upload are obviously photos of jobs, but include pictures of yourself, the owner, of your staff, of your office, trucks, equipment, your logo, whatever you can. Let people see who you are. That's one of the strongest things you can do online. There's so much nonsense out there, and there's so many scammers and fly-by-night operators that one of the best things you can do for your credibility, and it's on your website too. We'll talk about that, but even in your GBP, get your people in there because it shows them, potential customers that you're real, and Google loves that content too. Okay. And then back in Google, Google again, check your performance. So keep an eye on what's going on in there. You want to see it trending upward. Generally, their suggestions here are pretty good sometimes for the things that you need to do. But keep an eye on how things are going here. And there's some things you can do to help you get better performance. So again, add the photos. Best, if possible, do this 3 times a week. I know it's a lot of work, but if you have enough business and you got enough projects going on, just throw some pictures up there, throw some updates. It really helps you in the maps. So it's, this is something that you really should make a discipline of doing. Any reviews that you get, respond to them. That's actually is a ranking factor, which was surprising to a lot of us. But it is. There's a leak from Google that confirmed it. If anybody asks questions, just answer them. It's rare, people don't do that a lot, but to the extent that they do, answer the question. So takeaways are, get this right. It's the most important thing you can do. And then we didn't get into a lot here, but we will further down the road, is aggressively pursue reviews politely. Okay. You need reviews, as many reviews as you can get, but don't be too much. Okay. And we'll talk later about that. And so just consider, like, what does the phone ringing mean for you? Is it worth the effort to do this? And I think the answer is yes. You definitely need your phone ringing. And this is one of the key drivers for that. And so it's worth investing the time to do this and to do it right. Okay, so next let's talk about your Facebook page. And so why does this matter? And really, it's because your Facebook page is another free and easy asset that can get you leads. Not a lot. It's really more kind of like behind the scenes doing work for you, because customers will often check you out. And people do seek recommendations there. So you'll see, like, we moved to a new area a couple of years ago, and so we joined the local groups. I'm not a big Facebook guy, but I would see, like, in the local, like, neighborhood or city chat or group, whatever you call it, people would ask for recommendations for local service people, like paving. I saw paving companies in there. It kind of blew my mind. But HVAC, plumbing, all the kind of things that you hire locally for. And so having a Facebook page lets your customers be able to tag you when people make those kinds of recommendations. So you got to have that, you got to have it, right? So what do? Well, just you create a Facebook business page. And I think most people have these now, but if you don't, do it and do it right. So, have your logo, have a cover photo of your work, have a bio, and it can be simple. Just what do you do? Who do you help? Call to action, right? You don't need to overcomplicate things. Just basically fill it out, claim your custom URL that matches, try to have your branding across social media profiles match to the extent possible. And when you're done, it should look something like this, right? Just a nice professional company Facebook page, and try to post once a week at this point. You don't need to do a ton, but you want someone who's checking you out to see activity there. If the last post is like 5 years ago, they're going to wonder if you're still in business, and they might not call you. So don't give them the opportunity to skip you over. And as far as what posts you do, talk about yourself a little bit. Talk about, try to engage your audience to the extent that you have one, with stuff about them, or like engage with their content. And then, share things about others and interact with other pages and people and groups as your page, like things, comment on things, and just kind of get out there and participate in the social media space. And then always remember, for online, there's kind of an order of things that have impact. And first is videos, which beat photos, which beats text. Okay, so to the extent that you can, do videos. If you don't have videos, do photos. And keep in mind, again, that your Facebook page, certainly at this point, is more about reputation than lead generation. It's about being active. It's about being real. It's about, again, people being able to see who you are, get to know you a little bit. And so understanding the importance of this, can you post like once a week for the next month? I think you can find the time to do it. And I think it'll benefit you if you do. All right. So now let's talk about website. Why does this matter? I think everybody knows. Your website is your most important asset online. It does most of the heavy lifting for you. It's the one you have the most control over in terms of how it looks and what's on it. And it really helps all of your other online assets shine, especially your Google Maps results, because of the local content. And we'll talk more about that later. But your website is the hub. I mean, everything feeds into that. Everybody comes and checks you out there. They fill out your forms there. They find your phone numbers there. So it's got to be done. It's got to be done well. And one of the things you got to do is be real and authentic. So here's a great example of putting your people on your site. People love seeing this stuff. They want to know that it's you, and they want to see who you are and who's going to be showing up on their property or in their area to do their project. It's great. And then, leverage video and multimedia. So can't see here in the background, there's video playing. So to the extent that you have videos, use them on your site. And then always showcase customer, reviews, social proof. Or let people see what your customers have to say about you. So bottom line is here, your website must look great and make you real. Make people understand you. It's your best salesperson. It's online 24/7, never takes a break and never complains. And so treat it right, make it good, and let it do the work. And so think about ways that you can make your website come alive, and just consider, how does a real website feel? What, as you look at websites and you, do things like that, what stands out to you when you see a website that is great? And I think you can consider some things that pop out to you and consider if your website is doing that for you. Okay. So in summary, when we talk about step one, get your your Google business profile working for you, make your Facebook page active, and then have a great website that lets prospects get to know you. Pretty straightforward for step one. We want to spend a little bit of time here because this really is the foundation for making things work at your current, whatever you have going on now, or even a new location. You're going to kind of repeat all these steps for all that. So I want you to keep them in the back of your mind. All right. So what comes next? So now we're going to talk about getting competitive. And remember, we just covered getting started. And so after you get all that stuff knocked out, what's next on your list? And your focus is really 3 critical core things, which are Google Ads, SEO, reputation management. Okay. And so Google Ads, why does this matter? The reason it matters is that maps only go so far. Google over time has just increasingly shrunk and shrunk and shrunk the amount of visibility they're going to give you on maps. And so, maps SEO is kind of a battle to push that border out, and Google keeps wanting to squeeze you, and it gets harder and harder to get much distance over maps. I think Google is doing this for a number of reasons, but one of them is that their own customers, the searchers, just show a high preference for nearby results. Now, they prefer more than nearby results, excellent companies nearby. So there's a balance here, and that's why you can stretch them, but you can only go so far. And so very rarely, unless you're extremely rural, is your Google business profile going to be able to cover your entire service area. It's typically not the case. And so one way you address that is with Google Ads, because with Google Ads, you can precisely cover the entire service area that you want to hit. And of course, Google Ads have the highest visibility. Google is not a $60 billion or $70 billion company, whatever they are, because they're stupid. They serve ads that customers click on, and that's what powers their business. It has for a long time, and they do other things, but this is their moneymaker. And so when you pay for ads, you pay for visibility on the keywords that turn into business. So, that's just how Google works. And the good news is they should be profitable if it's done correctly. Okay, and we'll talk about that. Again, we go back to the slide, the 15,000 leads for paving companies, and number 2 on that list is Google Ads. And so a ton of business for paving companies comes in from Google Ads. And so you, as the paving company business owner, needs to understand how to do this right. Okay. And again, this is also one of those things where once you have the basic pieces in place, like the landing page, you can show up quickly. You can show up as often as possible where your customers are looking and where you want them to see you. You could show up for the geo-modified terms. And to some extent, there's unlimited scalability. I mean, there's only so many impressions in a given area, so unlimited, within reason. But typically, most people don't max out their budget. They don't max out what they can do. And so there's usually you're in a situation where you can turn it up, turn it down if you need more leads, and just fill your own project pipeline accordingly. But why do most Google Ads campaigns fail? And there's a lot of reasons, and really the main one is a failure to understand the Google Ads auction process and the complexity of the paving industry in that regard. And this is one of those things that's probably best illustrated by a story. And so, we at Paving Marketers have run hundreds of thousands of ad spend, if not millions, generating leads for paving companies. So we've done a lot. And so we know what we're doing. We've seen it before. We've done it before. And you would think that, well, okay, we know it works. And we do. But there's a huge caveat there. And it's this. You can take a campaign that is just absolutely killing it. Just amazing cost per leads. Everything is working, just humming along, great leads, great quality, all this, all that. And you can take that campaign, you can take it out and say, all right, I'm going to deploy this campaign here. Different customer, but same metro to metro, same product types. It's basically like a copycat situation. You would expect that campaign, you would know how it would perform because you see us performing here. Everything's more or less the same. You'd expect that the performance would be the same here, except it's not. And it is the most frustrating, ridiculous thing I can conceive of in advertising, because it just should not work that way. But time and time again, it does. And so it makes no sense. And this is the frustrating thing about how Google works is it's a black box. And so you can do everything right, and Google controls what happens. And now, granted, you can say, well, there's different auctions in this place, and that's true. But what it really means is, regardless of how well things perform in one place, there's no guarantee it performs well in another place. And there's all kinds of tactics and techniques you need to do to make adjustments to make it work. And so, when you do Google Ads, you have to approach with that understanding of there is more likely than not going to be a learning curve here. And I've got to ride that wave because on the other side of that is predictable, repeatable business. Okay. So that's kind of the 50,000 foot view of Google Ads. Other reasons why Google Ads campaign fail, it's not on here, but I would say budget. If you don't allocate enough budget, you just don't feed it enough to make it work. That's probably really the most common one that we see. But setting aside like things like that, where people just don't want to dedicate enough budget to it, there are procedural or setup things that cause them to fail, like using one ad group for all services. So you don't want to mix parking lot paving and driveway paving and seal coating, right? That should not all be in one group. Those should be 3 separate ad groups targeting different thematically related keywords. So those should be separated. Same thing for the text ads. You shouldn't use one text ad targeting all the services. So the worst possible setup is you take all these keywords into one big group and you serve one text ad targeting that group and send it all to your homepage. You're guaranteeing disaster at that point. So you have to be more nuanced in how you build it out. And so you got to have an ad group for seal coating, and the ads should be about seal coating. And when they go to the landing page, it should say something about seal coating. You don't necessarily need a landing page for every single distinct service that you offer, but there has to be some synergy is the word that pops in my head, but I hate that word. But there has to be connected, from ad to keyword to ad to landing page. It should all be clear and related as far as the customer is concerned. Okay. And the last thing is just no strong call to action or offer on the landing page. So you've got to, again, this is like your one shot to make a good impression with this potential customer. And so you got to have a good landing page, lets them know what to do next, gives them enough to kind of judge you briefly, like, okay, this looks like a legit company, these look like cool guys, looks like they do great work, I'll give them a call. Okay, that's the bar you got to meet here. Okay, so that's things to consider as you're doing a Google Ads campaign. The other thing to consider, we're not going to get too much into it now, is conversion tracking. And there's lots of different ways to do this. There's native tracking in the Google Ads platform. But if you really want to get into it and track things carefully, there's dynamic number swapping, which will let you differentiate, different sources of leads. Did they come from Bing? Which is, it happens. Was it a PPC traffic? Was it Google Business Profile traffic from Maps? Was it direct? Did that come from SEO? Where do all those things come from? You can track all this stuff. And so as you're considering your strategy and how you're going to apply this, be mindful of how you're going to track conversions, because that data is the most important part when you assess the performance of the campaign. So when you look at KPIs, obviously you're going to consider your total spend and try to figure out what your return on it was. But there are some traps that people fall into here which you need to be careful of. And a lot of people can get hung up on cost per click. And you can't do that. And I'll illustrate why. I am perfectly happy paying $20 per click if my average cost per lead is $50. Okay. I am not happy to pay, conversely, $5 per click if my average cost per lead is $150. So the cost per click is often the most featured metric because it's the most prominent one, but it is completely useless in isolation because it has to be tied to what your actual cost per lead is for that keyword. And if the cost per lead is great, then who cares what the cost per click is? Does not matter at all. Okay. And so once you know your cost per lead, then you can figure out your return on investment. If you're tracking, okay, did this lead become a project? What was my top line ROI? What was my profit ROI? You can figure these things out when you have this data. And so that's why it's important to track these things and have these KPIs in place. Okay. And to optimize these things to the best degree you can, you got to have a well thought out landing page. We already talked about that a little bit. But let them know who you are, give them an offer, let them call you, let them send you a form, whatever they want, and let them scroll on the page and see some reviews or whatever. Just give them what they need to make a decision that, hey, these guys seem legit enough for me to reach out to and talk to. All right. Okay. So takeaways here, you can and should do ads profitably. As you can see from my data, almost 30% of your leads should come from it. It's how you do it that makes all the difference. Okay. And you got to do it right. And you got to kind of have the patience to go through the process to do it right. And so I'll ask if you can see the benefit of being able to scale leads up and down as needed. And I think to everybody, to me, certainly it makes sense that that's something you'd want to be able to do. Okay. So let's talk about SEO. And this is really a huge topic. And I'm not going to get into the weeds on this here. I'm just going to be pretty broad. I have other webinars I've recorded that go more into details on these things if you're interested in watching them. But at a very high level, let's just run through SEO here. And this matters for a couple of reasons. The first is to improve your Google Maps reach if we're talking about Maps SEO. The second is, competing for buying search terms if we're talking about organic SEO. Okay. But ultimately, why it's important is the majority of your leads, when you're looking at maps and you're looking at organic, are going to come from SEO. So going back to our data, 20% of the leads came from Google search. Okay. So that's 53% of the leads, over 7,500, 8,000 leads here, came from SEO efforts, either from the maps or from the organic search terms. And so between these two, this is your bread and butter. And so people will say SEO is dead, or does SEO still matter? And it obviously does. The data shows that somewhere between 71% of clicks or more are in the first 5 listings. So this is where SEO does the job for you. The rest of them are going farther for some reason, or they're clicking the ads. So you got to compete for this space. And to compete for this space, it's not just random keywords, but it's the keywords for your services. And really more particularly, it's the keywords for your services in your city. And what your city is really different every time. It depends on where your customers are that you're targeting. Like for example, we live outside of Cincinnati. Our office is in Cincinnati for our main, all of our offices all of my agencies kind of live in the same office, right? But if I were trying to do like search for generalist business for like the mothership agency, right? I would do like Cincinnati digital marketing or Cincinnati web design. I don't really do web design by itself, but you know what I'm saying. So consider your city that when you're doing organic SEO, you're really hitting on your service keywords plus city modifiers. Okay. And you need to have a page on your site for each service that you want to market. Okay. And you don't want to mix them. You don't want a page just for commercial. Okay. You want a page for parking lot paving. You want a page for asphalt maintenance, which is maybe not strictly commercial, but a lot of that's going to be commercial, right? So as you work on your website, consider carefully the pages you're building and how they're organized. But this is basically how you're going after organic traffic, is these kinds of pages. Okay, and to optimize them, there's, you could find 10,000, a million. I mean, there's so much information on this out there. I would say if you're doing this yourself and you have a WordPress website, get an SEO plugin. Like there's Yoast, which is probably the most well-known one. We use Rank Math. I don't know how much we actually use it for optimizations. I don't think we do, because we just have in-house software and things that we use. But for doing it yourself, get your WordPress website up, install Rank Math, build these pages out, and then do what it says. It'll get you 80% of the way there. I mean, it's to the point now where the algorithms are so complicated. They'll do a lot of it, but if we run into a particularly stubborn page, we'll use things like Cora, which does like advanced statistical analysis on ranking factors as you see a set of search results. And so this kind of stuff can get nuts real quick, and far outside the scope of what we can talk about here. So just focus on the main things: the H1, the title, tag, keyword and URL, things like that. That'll get you most of the way there. For off-page SEO, link building, I'm not going to talk a lot about that. I would say certainly at this stage, if you don't have an actual budget to dedicate for buying links, and a lot of times there's just even no point in doing that. It just depends on your situation. But the main links you want to focus on are really citation links. So name, address, phone links, and those are primarily more for your Google business profile. But you can also, generally, they're also going to be pointed at your website. So these are the main links you're going to build. They do have some strength to them typically. And anything you can get local is very strong. So like think Chamber of Commerce, think, local organizations, anything like that that you can be a part of and get a link back to your site. It's going to be strong because it's local and it will help you. And then the only other thing I talk about here is press releases. Those are great for links because, if they're somewhat gated in that your press release has to be approved by the press release distributor. So yeah, there's some editorial control there. And then once that gets blasted out, it gets picked up by a bunch of local news sites, which point back to yours. They're all considered authoritative, and it's good for depending on the content you do, good for maps and good for just your overall domain authority and things like that. So those are sort of things that I would focus on in off-page SEO. Okay. How to rank in maps. This is a huge topic. I'm going to give you 3 basic takeaways here. First one we already talked about is citations. That's the local links. That's the name, address, phone links, like, Yelp, Angie. There's like aggregators like Dexicom, Axicom. There's just a million of these things. And there's different tools like White Spark or Bright Local that you can use to build citations. And, that's what you got to do. It's just everybody's got to do it. So that's number 1. Number 2 is local content. And so these are things, this is content on your website that talks about areas of interest or places of interest in your service area. And so this would be landmarks, this would be tourist attractions, this would be, like even like football stadium, like things that are prominent anchors of your area that would be well known to Google that you can write about and talk about in a natural fashion. But this sort of content connects your business to your local area through your website and through that to maps. Okay. And this works. We do it. We've seen it work. And so we highly recommend it. Okay. The last thing is, as I mentioned briefly before, is reviews. Reviews are extremely, extremely important. And we're going to talk more about that next. So what are your takeaways here? SEO is greater than 50% of your leads. It's a lot of work, but you can't skip it. And just consider if you can see how important this is to do. I think the answer is yes. And so you can't neglect it, right? So let's talk about reviews or reputation management. And why does this matter? A couple things, but reviews directly impact your maps results. So we see this in the GeoGrids. If we help a customer run a review campaign, we often see just the map GeoGrid improve. So it's a direct ranking signal for maps. Okay, and if you think about how you yourself shop, most likely, or I mean, your wife, if you don't, but you do some shopping. I do, not a lot, but I do. And when I do, I look at who has the most and best reviews, who's closest to me, right? And then I call them. Well, or for me, I submit a form because I hate getting on the phone if I don't have to, but you know what I'm saying, right? So the same is true for paving companies. Your customers are shopping for you that way also. It also is insurance against bad reviews, and everybody gets crazy customers. It happens. And they will leave you bad reviews at times, but they only hurt you when you have a few. Like the only thing worse than having no reviews is having 500 5-star reviews, because everybody sees right through that. And they're like, yeah, come on. They know that was gamed or they were bought and they don't believe it at all. And you end up hurting yourself. So people want to see a natural review distribution. They're going to expect to see some bad reviews, and they'll probably read them. And then they'll, if if your bad review is like the average bad review, it sounds like a crazy customer. And your average customer is going to have dealt with these people because you're, unless they are that crazy person, they're going to understand that it's probably an unfair review. And because you're responding to all reviews as per step 1, they see a professional and reasonable response from you, they're going to be like, yeah, that just sounds like a difficult customer. And they're not going to hold it against you, but it's going to make you more real to them. So don't be afraid of bad reviews. Just be afraid of bad reviews if you don't have enough to bury them. And so that's another reason why you got to do this. And so I think we've already answered the question of do online reviews matter? And they do. I mean, people trust online reviews, and mostly they trust recent online reviews. And so, if the reviews are older than 3 months, they consider them to be not as relevant. So it's something you need to be doing consistently. You got to kind of keep it happening, and it will work for you in a myriad of ways. Okay. And so, how can you do this? Lots of ways. There's lots of tools that can do it for you. Um, you can like load your customers in, send them emails, send them text messages, ask them to leave a review. You can leave a printed like QR code for them to scan. You can train your crews like to just say, hey, give us a review. Really, at this point, because people have kind of wised up to this, and generally people are starting to do a better job of this, it's less effective now. And so the most effective thing right now is picking up the phone and making a call. It's either you or someone on your staff calls a customer and just checks, hey, did we do a good job? Did we clean up all right? Were you satisfied with your project? Did everything look good? Great. Hey, would you consider leaving us a Google review? It really helps us out a ton. We hope that we did a great job for you and that you consider taking the time to leave a review for us. Is it okay if I send you a link to do that? Oh, sure, I'd love to. Will they actually do it half the time? No. But if you ask them and then send them a link, there's a chance. Okay. So takeaways are get reviews. And I hope you can see it. I hope I made it clear. This is really one of the most powerful things that you can do to grow your business. The impact on maps is that big. And when you become the company, the paving company in your area with the most and best reviews, you will see it in your phone calls every single time. So it's worth it. It can be a long game to get there, but once you get there, you're in a pretty strong position, and that's where you want to be. Okay. So summary of step 2, run Google ads and do it right. Spend the time you need to on SEO. And if you do nothing else, and if you hear nothing else I say today, get more reviews. All right. Step 3, get bigger. All right. And so we've covered step 1, get started. Step 2, get competitive. Now, what do you do after that? And there's really 3 things again to focus on here: marketing automation, social media, new locations. All right. Let's get into it. Marketing automation. So why does this matter? It matters because it's going to increase your revenue. It's going to improve your lead quality, and your business will grow faster because of it. And what marketing automation does basically is it helps you increase your conversion rate. Okay, so what are 3 ways you can do this? The first one is engage how your customers want to engage. And one thing that I've noticed over the last couple of years is businesses have moved more and more to text messaging. Now, I am a Gen Xer. If we want to talk about this generationally, I am not a text message guy. And so this has been kind of annoying for me. But you know what's driving this? It's millennials and it's Zoomers. Why? Because they're on their dang phones all the time and they like text messaging. So businesses have shifted and have adopted that. And you have to do the same thing because they will be your customers if they're not already. And so one way to increase conversions is to give customers the way to engage with you the way that they want to. And text messages particularly, they have high answer rates, and consumers more and more are just more willing to engage that way. So you got to do it. And you got to follow up quickly. And so when people are shopping, they're shopping and they're getting multiple quotes usually. And, Amazon has really kind of conditioned people to I want it and I want it now. And so if they reach out to you and you don't follow up with them in 15 minutes, it will often go cold. And following up within 5 minutes is over 20 times more effective than calling after 30 minutes. And after 5 minutes, the odds of qualifying a lead drop by like 80%. And half of leads will go with whoever gets back to them first. And anecdotally, this is true for me. We moved a couple of years ago, and so I had to get all new providers for everything. And so I don't know who's good in this area. We don't know a lot of people where we moved to. And so I'm, on the internet, like, okay, well, doing that's what I'm saying. Who's got the most best reviews? Who's near me? Who looks good? Checking out their websites and stuff. I'm like, all right, these guys seem good, so I submit a form. And I can't tell you how many different providers I submitted web forms to who never ever got back to me. Not even like 5 minutes or 30 minutes, just never. Blows my mind how bad many companies who are otherwise good do at this. It's horrible. It's different kinds, pest control, like lawn equipment, like tractors, things like that. Blows my mind. So for the savvy business operator, there's a huge opportunity here to differentiate yourself from your peers by getting this right. Okay. And how do you do that? We leverage automation. Okay. And I want you to consider the ideal outcome here. The ideal outcome is that every lead that you get gets an email and a text message within 30 seconds of submitting the form or whatever they do. And ideally, a call from someone at your company within 5 minutes. If you can do that, you're going to be in great shape. And then after you give an estimate, you got to follow up with them at least 7 times via email, SMS, phone until they book the job or they tell you they're uninterested. Okay, so it's not just beforehand, it's after the fact. And you can use marketing automation to take care of a lot of this and put the task in front of the right team member at the right time to make sure that they do it. Okay, and so these things look like this. And they can get very complicated very fast. And it's outside the scope of what I want to talk about today. I have another webinar that I've gone into more detail on this and kind of ways you can set it up. So check that out. But I just want you to get kind of in your mind a picture of automated workflows that handle this work for you, because a lot of paving business guys, a lot of paving company owners are on the machines doing the work. They are not going to call back in 5 minutes. They're not going to send it. They just can't do it. And so leverage technology to get that done for you. And just consider, if you followed up with all of your leads in that way, would you convert more of them? Well, of course you would. There's no doubt about it. And we've seen in our own data. I mean, we do this ourselves in our own sales processes and all the businesses that I own. And I know it works. So I know I'm eating the dog food I'm selling you here. And so just take an example. And this isn't really an example from paving. Your average ticket's not $950, but just follow along with the math. You can tweak the numbers you want to get a scenario for yourself. But just consider a scenario where you spend $6,000 on ads, you get 439 leads. Okay. And you convert 40% of those leads into booked jobs, 175 jobs. Average ticket of $950, that's going to be $166,000 in revenue. That's a 27x return on investment. That's great. You see that kind of ROI on a spending campaign, you're going to be happy with that. And I would be too. But let's say now you implement marketing automation and you get, reasonable in my mind, a 50% improvement in your conversion rate, a little bit more. So let's say it takes your conversion rate up to 65%. Okay. Well, on that same spend, you've now got 285 book jobs for a total revenue of 271,000, a 44x ROI, or an increase of $105,000 in revenue, and you did not spend an extra dime to get that. Okay. So that's the power of marketing automation. So how do you implement this in your business? Well, like I said, it gets complicated, and I really can't go through this today. I just did a webinar. I think it was last month or 2 months. I don't remember when it was. But I went through this diagram here of like what this looks like and how you can set it up. And so I want you to consider how you could do this in your business, because it's going to help you. And so then further consider, maybe you don't have a lead problem as much as you have a conversion problem, and that there are ways that it can be easily solved. Okay. And so your takeaways from this are marketing automation will let you out hustle most of your competitors. A lot of people haven't caught on to this yet. They're not doing it. And this is a good way to differentiate yourself, especially if you're in a competitive bidding situation. You're just going to look more impressive, and you will be more profitable in the same spend. And just consider, would that be worth your time? Well, of course it is. It's worth my time. All right. Let's talk about social media. All right. So we've got the Facebook page set up already. We did that in step 1. Let's talk about social media more broadly. And people use social media platforms differently. I, not being much of a user of them, um, you know, the stuff that I put out there, my team puts out there for me, and I'm glad they do. But it has a lot of use. You can position yourself as the expert in your field. You're watching this right now. Many of you, it's a recording. I am positioning myself as the expert in your field here, you know, but I'm just telling you what we do every day. And the same, you can do the same for people who would consider your services. It gives them just some increased comfort and trust that they're being well taken care of, as it should. You know, if you know what you're doing, you should let your customers know that you know what you're doing. It just helps them feel better. And people enjoy being taken behind the scenes of their work. Again, it goes back to like people like dealing with real people. There's actually real people on the other end of the computer here doing work. It's not it's not AI robots yet. It's still people doing this stuff. So what do you do? The first is you want to decide which platforms to expand into. And each platform, and this is what my people tell me because I'm not a social media guy, but it makes sense when they explain it to me. As you think about which platforms to use, obviously you're already on Facebook, and Facebook is for boomers and grandma. All the kids ran away. But YouTube is for how-to videos, or like this. This is a how-to video once it's released, right? And if you want to reach millennials, apparently you use Instagram. And if you want to reach Zoomers, you use TikTok. And if you want to reach other businesses, you use LinkedIn. Although I found if you want to get harassed by salespeople and recruiters, you go on LinkedIn. But your mileage may vary. And so you want to create business accounts for each platform you want to join. And again, keep your branding consistent. And then you want to create specific content for each platform, whichever ones you participate in. You want to have specific content for each one. And so how do you do that? How do you get that content when you're already busy? Well, there's a couple things you can do. The best thing you can do is you're already shooting photos, or you should be, for your Google Business Profile stuff, right? Well, shoot some videos too. And so when you do this stuff and you do a job, you or like your crew chief or whoever's doing it, just take some photos and videos of each job you do. And I would say, it's not on the slide here, but this isn't just for social media. You really should be thinking about making case studies of this stuff. I didn't talk about this in the presentation at all, but one of the things you want to have on your website is an area where customers can see your work, right? And they can see the projects you've done, and they can see examples of it. And if they have that kind of project in mind, and you're like, yeah, my driveway looks like that. And, oh man, look what a great job they did in that driveway. And you get a review from that customer saying how great it was to work with them, and you've got photos and videos of the job. Man, that is a sales asset. Okay. So I want you to think that way as you're doing these jobs. Collect this stuff so you have it, and you will find ways to use it. And one of the things you can use it for outside of case studies is you can use it for social media content. Okay. Now, for other things you can do, use Google to your advantage for content ideas. And the way you can do this is, search for things in Google and go look at the people also ask. So try this, say Google search for seal coating. Okay. And go down and look at the people also ask and see what people ask. Now, you're an expert. If you provide a seal coating service, chances are you know a lot more than the person who just Googled seal coating. And certainly you know a lot more than your customer who's going to buy a seal coating project from you. And so go to those people also ask things. Just take your phone out, just record a selfie video answering that question. Pop the thing on the social media. That's really all it is. You're the expert. You've got the knowledge. And people aren't going to take it and do it. I mean, you get crazy DIY people. You probably get calls from them here and there, and that's fine. Those people can watch your content all day long. They were never going to be your customer in the first place. But your customer who does not want to do seal coating themselves, but they see you talking about seal coating, you're like, yeah, this dude knows what he's talking about. They're just more likely to call you. And so that's the value here of social media and making this kind of content is, again, just being real for people, being a knowledgeable person, being relatable in some sense. You are who you are. You be yourself. And I hate that, all these stupid phrases that people said since you're little, but there's some truth to them. And just put it out there. It doesn't have to be well produced. You don't need a freaking audio video room. You don't need any of that. I'm just sitting in my office here in my house recording this on a webcam. I've got like one little microphone thing here. That's it. I don't have anything special. It does the job. That's all I need. I don't need any crazy fancy stuff. There's just no point in doing that. And if I were outside, if I owned a paving company and we were doing a project, I'd be out there on my phone taking videos and doing like, hey, check this out. That's all you got to do. It doesn't have to be complicated. It's just got to be real. So other takeaways at this point, if you're at step 3 and now you're growing, right, then you or preferably a team member is going to be able to increase your consistency to 3 times a week. Okay. The other thing to keep in mind here is social media is always changing. So you yourself or have someone on your team or your kids be aware of what's going on so that you can adjust your strategy as needed. And just consider which platform is most closely aligned with your business goals and start there. And for paving companies, it's going to be Facebook. But increasingly over time, it will be Instagram, it will be TikTok. So you can't ignore those things, right? As these generations age, they're still going to use these goofy platforms. They're goofy to me. And so you're going to have to reach them there. You're going to have a way to engage, the buyers in every market. And social media is a fantastic way to do it. And I was slow on social media. I thought, why would anyone mess with this stuff? And I get it. There is value to it. And so we've added it in our service offerings because there is value there. All right. Now I'm going to accelerate a little bit because this and then step 4, these are going to be a little bit tighter. But these are all high hitting things and I'll give you enough information to go through them, but I also don't want to keep you here all day. So I want to respect your time. So the next thing is new locations. Okay. And what this does for you is it overcomes maps proximity limits. So again, as we discussed in the maps part, you're only going to get so far in your maps. Okay. And eventually you're going to want to take that excellent lead generation that a Google Maps thing can be and slap another one in your service area and start getting those Google Maps leads that are hiding there from you. Okay. It's also going to make you look like a bigger company, and new locations can and should be very high long-term ROI. Your cost for rent versus the business it should generate for you should be a slam dunk. Okay. So what do? You need to find an area that you'd like to expand in that's at least 15 miles from your current office, and 20 miles is better. And really, this is so location and context dependent that I wouldn't even necessarily go with that. What you should do is look at the geogrids in your area and see how far people reach. Because in the middle of Nebraska is not going to be the same thing as in the middle of New York City. In the middle of New York City, you might put a location 5 miles away because you are not getting much reach there. Okay. But in the middle of Nebraska, you might go 50 miles and one GBP might cover your service area. So understand what the geogrids in your area look like, understand the footprint you can expect, and drop your next one so that you don't overlap. Okay. Because where you overlap, they're just going to fight each other. You don't get any benefit from an overlap. It's not good for you. So space them out so that you're dead set in the area where you want to get, like high-end residential, business parks, wherever the best set of leads would be for you. Find an office right in the middle of that location. Okay. Just use LoopNet or whatever listings you use to scout for suitable office space. And then what you get depends on your objective. If you're going to staff it or have equipment there, go bigger, obviously. If it's just going to be a sales office, go small. So I just opened a new office, a month ago, 2 months ago. My team's entirely remote. And I generally work from home because I can. So I just got a sales office, got a nice office, not too expensive, not too big. It's a great looking office, got a conference table in there. If I want to do local events or anything, I can. I can work from there if I want to. Really, it's just fun for all the kids to come in with my wife and have dinner, have lunch. So, hey, let's go have lunch in Daddy's office. I think it's fun. That's the best use of it so far. But behind that, I have an address for all my businesses, and I now am expanding a maps presence here where I'll pick up some, whatever business for the generalist agency just because I slammed a footprint down there. That's what it's for. Okay, but I don't need to put staff there, and so if I want to put 4 or 5 staff in there, I can, but otherwise it just sits there and I use it when I want. But it'll make money for me. Okay. Some things to warn about here. Do not use a Regis. Do not use a UPS store or anything like that. That ship has long since sailed. Even if you get away with it somehow, if you have to make a change and you get suspended or re-verified, you're going to get busted and you're going to lose it. So this has got to be a real office. There's no other choice at this point. Make sure you have an actual address that can receive mail, and ensure that you can display signage and tools and show physical control of the location. So when I made the move, I moved my old GVP to this new location, and I had to go and record a video, and I had to do it from my phone. I had to be there, and I can't record a video and then upload it. You have to go in the Google Maps app, say I'm going to start a video, and within the map it takes the video. It's crazy. And so I had to walk through the building. Here's my suite. Here's me opening the door. Hey, it's me. Haha, here's my signage, right? So understand that at some point you most likely will need to video verify it, and you have to show that it's your place. All right. So keep that in mind as you're choosing locations. Last thing to consider here is how many big dogs have one location? None. I mean, you might be able to think of one, but broadly speaking, when you consider the big players in the market, they all have multiple locations. This is just, as you're getting bigger, this is what comes, right? It just makes sense. So takeaways here: opening new office can be very profitable, but proceed with caution. Don't overlap yourself too much, and get the sort of office space that'll actually have practical value for you. And just consider, can you see what a multi-location business might do for your bottom line? I hope the answer is yes. It's definitely true. All right, that's step 3. Now we get to step 4, which I enjoy. And we've gotten started, we've gotten competitive, we've gotten bigger, and now the next step is get everywhere. So to do that, what do? Here's your focus: cold email, Facebook ads, and what I'm going to call here omnipresence. Okay, let's break those down. So cold email, this matters because you can basically do high volume targeting of commercial prospects. Think property managers, churches, apartment buildings, shopping centers. Think of where are all the big parking lots? You can scrape all those industries, get all their emails, and market to them. And if this is done correctly, it can produce a very high ROI, because once you go through the process of setting this up and getting it going, it just runs. And when I started these, I've had the generalist agency for years. When I started these niche industries, including paving marketers, that's how I got them off the ground. Is I just got all the paving companies in the United States, and I got the emails, and I just sent out respectful cold email sequences, and our first several customers came from that. So every time I open a new niche business, this is one of the first things I do. Now, granted, it's a little different, right? I'm saying do this in step 4 for you, but for me, targeting nationally, this was step 1, okay? Because we're not a local business in that sense, right? So focusing on you, this is a very viable business strategy if done correctly. And it can be challenging to do it correctly, but here's what you do. So you want to get similar domains just for email, and you have to warm them up. So what does this mean? If you're bobspavingcompany.com, then you want to get bobspavingcompany.co and bobspavingcompany.net. Okay, those are your email domains. You do not want to cold email from your main domain, because you run the risk of being labeled a spammer and getting your domain burned out. So don't use your main domain. It will make problems for you. And warming them up means there are different kinds of software that will basically automate sending email for you, so that you warm it up. It's like warming up your car, right, in the winter or whatever. Same thing is true from email. Email providers have gotten wise to people setting up email accounts and blasting spam, and so that will immediately send red flags, and they will shut you down. Okay, so you can't do it. All right, so you got to warm them up. And you need to prepare a simple, short, direct message sequence. Nobody's going to read 5 paragraphs from you. They're not even going to read one. Just very bam, 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 done. Keep it short, keep it simple, keep it direct. It's all you need to do. The reality is they're either going to be in the market or they're not. And so there's no eloquence here. There's no sales here. You're just kind of throwing it out there, hoping you catch somebody who's ready to do some business, right? Or they're thinking about it. That's what you're doing here. And like I mentioned, you get a list of commercial prospects with emails, and then get software that will manage a drip sequence for you. So the way this works is you don't send them all at once. You basically send one every couple minutes. So every 4 or 5 minutes, however many you want to get to, up to a couple hundred a day. And so this software is just email, 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 email all day long. That's how you do this. Okay. So when you're ready to launch the campaign, the other thing you can do that's helpful is slowly ramp up the quantity. So don't start at 200 a day. You want to slowly ramp it up over time. That's the best way to do it. You don't always have to do it that way, but better safe than sorry. And then you want to have a process for handling responses. I mean, a lot of these people are just going to pick up the phone and just call you. Sometimes they'll respond via email. And so you obviously want those emails to land in your inbox so you can respond to them. okay, or even have marketing automations in place to handle the response for you. Okay. Some takeaways from this: don't spam, be careful and respectful. Don't be obnoxious. Most people aren't. But don't send 50 emails, just maybe one, maybe another one a couple months later, but just keep it minimal. And this is mostly set and forget. So once it's done, I mean, you get a list of 10,000 that could run all year. Okay. And it can be very high ROI. It takes one job from that list to pay for this and have an ROI on it. That's it. So can you see the value of industry targeting via cold email? I think so. But we're not done with industry targeting yet, because now we're going to talk about Facebook ads. And you can take that same list and do this. Basically, you can blanket your entire service area. So again, Google Ads is covering your whole area. You can do this with Facebook ads too, with a relatively cheap CPM, or cost per thousand impressions. Think of like TV and radio. And what this will do is it can and will develop higher funnel leads. So when you're doing Google ads, you're targeting people who are ready to buy. They're like, I am ready for quotes on paving, right? You got to fix my driveway. The parking lot needs to be redone. I need to get it, a new coat on it, whatever. They're ready to do it. That's what Google ads grabs you. That's the bottom of the funnel. But higher up in the funnel, you get all these people who will eventually be in the bottom of the funnel, but they're not there yet. And Facebook ads will let you get at them and try to catch them before they're going to Google ads, and maybe move them along the process faster than they had in mind. And the great thing about Facebook ads is you can specifically target commercial. Okay, so what do? Well, you take that commercial email list that you're using to cold email everybody and use it to make custom and lookalike audiences in Facebook. So what does that mean? You can take that list and upload it to Facebook, and it's going to find those profiles. Okay, that's your custom audience. So anyone who's on that email list, who's on Facebook, boom, you got them. Okay. But the real power in that is Facebook using their algorithms to find people who are just like that. Okay. Now you might want to segment this into, I want a property managers, Facebook audience. I want, shopping centers. I mean, it depends how churches. It depends. You might want to segment it like that. You might not. Depends on how big your area is and how many people you have. There's advantages to that. There's disadvantages. But if you just want to broadly target commercial, mix them all in together, throw it in an audience, get a custom audience, and you will have a very nice audience of commercial business owners that you can target directly on Facebook with your message, with ad copy that is simple, clear, and direct. And you can now, because you've done all these other steps, you've got all this great media you can use, all these videos, all these photos from your projects, which, remember, perform the videos greater than photos, greater than text, perform better on social media. The same is true for ads. So take those videos, put them in your ads, make a very simple, clear, direct message, put a video of the service you want to target. Boom. That's all you do. It couldn't be simpler. Now, you also can target higher end residential depending on your goals and your service offerings. So some people do pavers, right? That's more of a residential sort of project. Higher end driveways. You think of like what your higher end residential jobs are. You can go after those too, but it's a different process. You're not using an email list there, but it can be done. Okay. So I'm not going to get too much into that here today. Takeaway is you can target specific industries and customer types with Facebook ads. It's a different lead pool than Google ads. And just consider, can you see the importance of having visibility over your entire service area, not just for people ready to buy, but people who will be ready to buy, who you might be able to move along in that funnel. Okay. I think that's clear. So now that we've laid this baseline here, I want to talk about omnipresence, because this is like, let's put it all together and do it all at the same time. That's what this is. Okay. And so when you do this, you're going to hear things like, hey, I see you guys everywhere, right? We've heard this. And what you're doing is you're going to reach every prospect multiple times in a short time frame. And what this does, it just gives you a higher conversion rate, because not everybody jumps the first time they see something. They might have to see something 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, even if they're in the market or thinking about being in the market, before they'll even reach out to you. And so when you just do like a one-off thing, you're not going to get them all. But if you take a focused effort over a defined period of time and hit them multiple times, you're going to get every last possible conversion out of that group of people that you're targeting who are going to move in that time frame. Okay. It also makes you seem 10 times bigger than you are. I mean, maybe you are that big, but if you're not, running a campaign like this just gives the impression of scale to people, and it makes them comfortable doing business with you. Okay. So what do you do here? Choose who you want to target, commercial, residential. We're going to choose commercial for this case. Residential is a little more tricky, so we're going to skip that. And what you need to do is first plan your messaging. So what's your offer? Why should they reach out to you? And how do they do it? Right? Have your campaign in mind. Okay. And then plan your timing of this based on sales timelines. So if say, for example, say Q4 is a little slow for you, and you'd like to have as much business as possible in Q4, but your average sales cycle for, say you want to do a bunch of parking lots in Q4, just pick that. But you know that your average sales cycle for parking lots is 2 months from estimate to booking, right? To starting the project, whatever. So you work backwards from when you want the business to how long it takes you to sell the business to now you know when your ads should be landing, right? You want this omnipresent advertising sequence to land at the time you'll generate leads that will sell so that you have the business in Q4. That's your thinking here. That's your timing, okay? And so the Omnipresence campaign goes like this. At a basic level, you're going to do direct mail postcards plus email plus Facebook ads. And you're going to sequence things to maximize touches in a defined time frame, okay? And if you want to get really aggressive and you have the budget for it, overlay radio, overlay TV. And then, you're just killing it at that point. We don't get into radio and TV because it's just not something you can nationalize. There's just not partners everywhere, so we don't touch this a lot. But for you, if something to consider as you're thinking about doing this is consider reaching out to those people in your area and finding out what it would be to take that same message you're going to do and put it on those areas over the same time frame. Okay. It just makes it more effective. Okay. And so let's talk about an example sequence. So basically, again, we're all talking about a defined window where you're doing this. First thing is your Facebook ads are going to start with your message, who you are, who you're targeting, why are you targeting, and what they should do. That's going to run this whole time. Okay. While this is running, your target customers are going to get a couple emails, 2 or 3 emails. Then they're going to get a postcard. Then they're going to get 2 or 3 emails after that postcard. Okay. So, and while that's going on, they are going to see your Facebook ad maybe 4 to 5 times throughout that period. Okay. So if they see all of it, they're going to get 4 to 6 emails, a postcard, 4 to 6 views of their Facebook ad. And if you're doing radio and TV, you're everywhere, right? But if you have a compelling offer, if they're thinking about what you're doing and they're thinking about a project, you're going to get that call. That's omnipresence. Okay. So takeaways here are basically do a combined arms campaign. You're getting them by land, air, and sea campaign to drum up lots of business. You're going to look like a big dog they can trust. And can you see how this looks to the customer? It looks like you are a company that has it all together. And that's something that they can do business with. Okay. It's a very, very powerful approach. All right. So that is step 4. So remember what we covered. Cold email is going to let you target commercial at scale and with precision. Facebook ads is going to let you get a different lead pool across your whole area and throw postcards into the mix, and you are going to get omnipresent. All right. So we've covered all 4 steps. So far, this is what we've done. We've talked about how to get started with your Google Business Profile, a Facebook page, and your website. Talked about how to get competitive with Google Ads, SEO, and reputation management. Then we talked about how to get bigger with marketing automation, social media, and new locations. And finally, how to get everywhere with cold email, Facebook ads, and omnipresence. And so knowing what you now know, I hope you feel more comfortable using the power of digital marketing in your business. It's really something you can't avoid at this point. And I hope that you're happy you watched this presentation today. And I'd love your feedback. I'd like to know what I'm missing, what I could explain better, what I would include more of, what questions you have. We're going to send a replay out of this. Anything like that, please give me that feedback. If there's something you'd like to know more about that I didn't cover, let me know. I'll record, it's like a people also ask. I'll record a little video of it and throw it out there for you. I'd love to answer those questions. Okay. And do you realize the advantage you can have in the market by using these cutting edge techniques? And can you see yourself using what I showed you today to help you grow your business? I hope the answer to that is yes. And so even if you use just a tiny fraction of what I showed you, would you say that our time was well spent? And I hope the answer is yes. And if not, let me know what I can do better. I genuinely want your feedback. It's very, very helpful to me. And so the next question I have is, would you like to spend more time together with my team and myself, going even deeper and further on how to make digital marketing impact your business? You really have two choices. You can take this incredibly valuable roadmap and get to work, implementing it piece by piece, step by step yourself. And I designed this so that you could do that. And I hope I gave you enough information to do so. And certainly I have other content out there with each of these individual steps that can give you more information, that can show you how to do this. And I encourage you to go and watch that content and take this on and do these things. Okay. Or you can take the step our customers have done and work with us to take things to the next level. Okay. Those are your two choices here. And we are perfectly fine with either one of them. I love making this content. People tell me they watch and it's helpful, and I'm very, very happy to hear that. But I love having customers too. And having water. It's delicious. So I want to talk to you for a minute about Paving Marketers service plans. Okay. So we have a plan just for you. We offer done-for-you services that build assets you own forever and help you dominate your market and grow your paving company. No more counting on repeat business and referrals. No more shoddy lead services, but better jobs, better margins, and more profit. And what is it worth to keep you busy? You know that paving equipment can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's extremely expensive, as you know, and crew downtime can cost you thousands in wages and good employees who leave because you don't have enough work for them. And so we could charge $5,000 a month for what we do, and it would be a heck of a deal. But we don't do that. And so these are our plans. And these plans are built to more or less align with the steps that I laid out here today. So step one, getting started, that's going to be our starter package. And it's going to help you with a lot of that stuff that you need to do to get started. Okay. And we talk about getting competitive and getting bigger. That's our growth package. And that's going to help you implement things like paid search, social media management, more advanced SEO, and all these things. You got you covered for steps 2 and step 3. That's growth. We get step 4, you want to get everywhere. That's covered in our elite. And so wherever you are in your business, we have a plan designed for you to help you at the level you are and help you get to the next level. And so there's a plan for your needs, and we have no contracts. Our contract is a 30-day notice. So all we ask is you give us 30 days, because we allocate resources ahead of time, and that's it. And not only that, we design our service to maximize efficiency. So when you start with us, you start on a sprint. And what that is that's a project to make sure that you have everything you need to take maximum advantage of our monthly service plans. Okay, so we get everything done, ducks in a row, ready to go. Then we start our monthly billing. Okay. And these services are built and honed from working with companies like you. Dozens of paving companies. We do this all day long. We know what to do, and we refine and improve our services based on the results that we get for our customers. Okay. We also include some bonuses. So bonus 1 is a premium paving listing. And so this is a relatively new thing that we're working on. We are targeting basically the paving company near me keyword nationwide. So we're building a directory site, and we have thousands of paving companies in it. You're probably already in there. And we're building strength to it. And we're going to compete for these paving company near me keywords. And our customers will get a premium listing for free. There's a little bit of a charge for premium listing. What that does is it puts you at the top in your area. And eventually, this will be a source of traffic and leads for our premium paving list customers, who often also are our customers, in case we throw it in no cost. Bonus two, we have a daily paving PPC industry report. And so you can see what's going on in the top 25 metros, what ads people are running. This is updated 4 times daily, what keywords they're running on, what specials they're offering, what their strategy is. We look at this. It's extremely valuable. And because we look at this, we figured, heck, why not make it public for our customers so they can see it too? And so we'll share this with you. That's our second bonus. Third bonus, all of our paying customers get access to our platform, which is Revenue Commander. And a lot of things that we talked about today, like marketing automation, doing cold email, doing all these things, we do ourselves, and we enable our customers to do via the Revenue Commander platform. And so you can buy that standalone. It's $97 a month. Or if you're a customer, we include access for it for free while you're a customer. And we build your stuff in there. We build your landing pages. We build all these things. We build your marketing automations. We help you make this platform the kind of thing that can help you grow your business. Okay, so that's included when you're a customer. Okay, let's talk about our guarantee. So we get a question all the time, can you guarantee results? And there is a very simple, direct, and honest answer to this question, which I will give you on the next slide. And anyone who answers differently than this is not being straight with you. And so I want you to consider everything else I tell you accordingly. Are you ready for the answer? Can you guarantee results? No. No, I cannot. And no one can. And anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. And the reason is very simple. I don't control what Google does. I can't control who they show or where. Even with ads, they could change their entire algorithm tomorrow, and there's nothing I could do about it. So I can't take responsibility for Google. It's not my property. Similarly, I can't tell Facebook what to do or who to show ads to or how it will work. You can't guarantee something you can't control. When you're paving a driveway, you control every little bit of part of that. And so you can guarantee, yes, we are going to give you X, Y, or Z. But we can only control the work that we do. And so we can only guarantee the work that we do. And so that's what we do. Whoops. I can guarantee my team executes the best possible approach based on our experience doing this for dozens and dozens of paving companies. I can guarantee full transparency into the process, the results you're getting, the challenges we're seeing, the plans we have, and the strategies we're going to do on your behalf. And I can guarantee you that we have to earn your business every single month by not making you do a contract. Those are things I can guarantee, and I do. So therefore, we guarantee your satisfaction, we guarantee professional workmanship, and we guarantee you're going to get our best so we can keep you on our team as you grow. That's our objective, is for you to grow and for you to grow with us. That's what we want, and that's what we work for. Okay, but Chris, you'll say I've been burned, and we hear this all the time. We do, and I believe you most of the time, but I have to be honest, sometimes it's not the other agency. And I want to caution you here because we run into this many times. And so I want you to be self-reflective here. If you are one who says you've been burned by multiple agencies, step back for a second and consider, were you responsive to them? Were you patient with them? Did you give them what they needed to help you? Did you give them access to your properties? If the answer to that is yes, you might have been burned. But my experience is I know a lot of agency owners, different niches, they do different things, and they're all generally knowledgeable and they're all trying to do their best. And there's not really that many bad actors out there. They exist, but most people are trying to do a good job for the customers. Most people care about their customers. And so sometimes you were burned. Sometimes they did a bad job. A lot of times it's because they've never worked in your market before and they didn't know what they were doing. And so they're trying to figure it out on their own. Okay, but they're still trying. They're not trying to mess with you most times. There are companies out there that do that. There are companies out there that hold on, like that will keep your Google business profile, that will keep your Google Ads account, that will, they'll do things that we consider to be unethical. That's out there. But by and large, most agencies are trying to do a good job. Okay. And so if you have been a difficult customer, the agency didn't burn you. You burned yourself. And you've got to interact with people trying to help you differently. Okay. And I say this because we run into it ourselves several times. And we've had to have these conversations. And so I just want to say, we're going to be honest with you. And sometimes honest with you is you have got to change how you deal with people because it's hurting you. We're here to help you. We're going to do it right for you. You've got to let us do our work. Okay. Another thing we'll hear is, hey, Chris, I can't afford this. And I understand this one too. And that's why I'm giving you the roadmap for free and why I put out all this content. Sure, I'd love for you to buy from us, but not everybody can afford it. And that's okay. What I hope for you is that you can take the content that I've put out there and make it happen and grow your business. At some point, when you are in a place to go to market and consider hiring a partner, that you consider us. That's all I ask. Or we'll hear, and more so recently, but Chris, business is down, and the market's tough right now. We hear that a lot of places. We hear that from customers too, and I get it. But what I say to that is, this is why you need to do this, because in this economy and the administration that we've had doing a terrible job. It's a bad economy. I'm recording this in 2024 in July in case the administration has changed. Let's be clear who I'm talking about here. It's doing a terrible job. And, we're in a difficult market environment. We've been in a recession for a while, whatever fake numbers they put out there to say that we're not. We are. I know they are. So, it's tough. And so, unfortunately, when it's tough is when you have to double down. And you may be less profitable, but you've got to be more competitive. You've got to get the jobs. You've got to get through the recession until things go back up, and then it's easier, right? But when business is down is the worst time to draw back. Now, sometimes you have to, but you've got to make choices, right? You've got to compete for that business. Okay. Years ago, you would not have been left out of the yellow pages, no matter what. And this is the same thing. Some will say, but Chris, I already have a vendor, and it's totally fair. I get it. In fact, just about every customer we have already had a vendor. And if they are great, we will not tell you to leave them because that's not the right thing to do. People do that to us and they shouldn't. If your vendor's doing a good job for you, then like they've earned your business. Don't leave them. But we address this in our sales process, and our sales process is an audit of how you're doing. So we'll look at your GeoGrids, we'll look at your ranking, we'll look at all that. And if you're doing great, it will show us and we'll tell you, yeah, you're doing great. Don't need to switch. But if you're not, it'll also show us that. And if you're not, you probably should consider making a change. Okay. So speaking of our sales process, if you'd like to take advantage of that, our free marketing audit and strategy session, we will assess how you're doing in your market against your competitors and give you a custom roadmap that gets into details about how you're doing and what you can do to improve it. To do that, go to pavingmarketers.com/apply now, or you can give us a call at the number below, and we'll answer the phone, or if we're on the phone, we'll get back to you. So I don't see any questions that I need to answer here. And so I'm going to conclude this webinar presentation. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. I hope it was extremely valuable. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks again.